physique. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created human beings to appreciate certain proportions. There is nothing rational about it. There's nothing functional about it. It's simply that human beings are created to love certain proportions. Okay? If you see a certain person with really long legs and a short torso, right, it doesn't look right to you. Such a person, you know what they have to do to adjust themselves? They got to wear their shirt outside the pants. Other people, they have really big torsos and shorter legs. Okay? And then other people, yet the head shape may be differently proportioned. Okay? And all this may lead to different injuries. Okay? And it may lead to different needs, physical needs. Okay? But the Prophet ﷺ was described as having perfect proportions. Okay? And his chest was wide and strong, while his stomach was always flat. He never had what they call a paunch, or a belly sticking out. Okay, he had stout and strong skin, and his limbs and his skin was never dry. Like you see someone with very dry skin. No, the Prophet's skin was always shiny. He always used oils on his skins, and that made his skin moist. His hands, however, were never rough. His hands were always soft, despite always working with his hands. Where did he have hair on his body? He had hair on his arms. Okay, on his arms, some small splattering on his shoulders. Okay, and he had hair, a little bit of splattering hair on the upper part of his chest, but then he had a line of hair from his navel to his belly button. All right, the palms and soles of his feet were not thin. They were fleshy. Okay. Some people would have very skinny hands like wizards, right? You know, those scary hands like that, very thin hands. He did not have that. He had actually skin and some flesh on those hands, so that when someone held his hand, it had a feeling of softness to it. Okay. The hollows of his feet were deep set, which means that some people are flat-footed. Those are people who are exempt from the army. And also it may come with some health difficulties. Yet the Prophet ﷺ had very high arches, and that's always better for mobility, to have high arches on his feet. Okay. Okay. The extremities were well formed, and the hollows of his soles were deep set. And even his feet and his heels, the Sahaba described the heels of the Prophet ﷺ from the nature of how it was created, and also that the Prophet would oil his body all the time. His heels were thin. And how did they know, were smooth? When you see someone make wudu, and when you pray with people, you sometimes see cracks of dry skin, right, in the feet. And a lot of people in the old world who have to walk barefoot a lot, the backs of their feet are extremely cracked, okay? And so you could see that. And what happens is that the water doesn't even get in there. They have to rub the water in there. And yet others, you see that the heels are very smooth. So the water just drips off of them. And that is how the Prophet's heels were. Of course, you would see the heels of the people, of your imam. If you have an imam, and he always prays barefoot, you're going to see them naturally. Okay. We have one more line, and then we're going to get to our guest, Ibrahim Salman, who was doing something what I believe is a heroic effort in bringing the seerah in audio format, very creative audio format, to the youth. And we're going to talk to him about his philosophy, his motivation, the methodology by which he does it. And then we're going to listen to a clip. It's a very important clip. Okay. Again, he said that the Prophet's gait was brisk. The Prophet never meandered. You know, meandering is just walking slowly, just wasting time. That has a little bit either of arrogance or laziness. It's not a good quality to have for anybody to be walking in that manner. He always walked downward as opposed to haughtily with his nose in the air. When the Prophet walked, he never looked around. He looked straight. He never was just always looking, oh, look at that house, look at that neck. Look at that car, look at that. And then your neck starts to hurt. Sometimes you take a walk with some people. Oh, look at that house. Oh, look at that house. Oh, look at this car. No, that's not the way the Prophet ﷺ in terms of he would mind his business. It's not his business to go look at people's homes. What happens if you accidentally look in the window and see something you're not supposed to see? What happens if accidentally the window is open? The shades or blinds are open. And you see something you're not supposed to see. Okay. But when he was in the creation, he would look like mountains, the sky, because that's the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he was with the private property of humans or stores and stuff, he would not be staring around at everything. Rather, he would just walk straight to what his business was. But when he was amongst the creation of Allah, the mountains and the sky and the rivers, he would look, and he loved to hear the sound of flowing water. He looked to the sky much, okay? But when he was walking in markets around homes, he always looked at the ground. Okay? And he was urged his Sahaba to proceed ahead of him. Okay? However, whenever there was somebody that is worth greeting, he was the first to greet them. He'd not wait till the other person greet. Do you ever walk somewhere and you see somebody, but you don't know, should I salam him first or not? If I salam him first, maybe I come off as some kind of a loser. You ever feel that? Not the Prophet ﷺ. Always give salam to the people first.